Hello guys, in this video we will be learning about how an API can be called in multiple ways in SwiftUI. And so for that we will be using an dummy API which is the JSON placeholder API available online for free. So there is a user ID, title and body. So we'll create a model accordingly. So let me just directly create a new file. Uh, I'll name it as post VM. Okay, then let me just directly create the struct. So I'll name it as post model and confirm to identifiable and codable. So identifiable is used to uniquely identify every object, and codable is basically used to convert the JSON model into the Swift model. So let's create the properties. So the first one is ID itself. uh, the type of ID will be integer. Next we have user ID, then we have a body, and then finally we have a email. So let me just quickly create the post model. I'll name it as post VM. We'll confirm to the observable object, and we'll create a new published property, post. So here a post is holding the type post model, and what here happening is that whenever the value of post changed, published notify all the views which are using post to update, and observable object allows SwiftUI to notify all the views. So let me just directly create the fetch function, and I'll be making it asynchronous because I don't want the UI to get blocked while calling that fetch post function. So let's directly just get our URL, and we'll be using guard because guard allow us to not get null values. So let's come to actual implementation. Let data is equal to we want only data and not the response, so we'll be ignoring the responses, and for that we'll be using this syntax, and we'll be using URL session. So this is not catching the error, so I have to create a catch block, and this post data will be holding of type post model after decoding it into the Swift model and assigning it to the post. And if any error occurs, it will print something like some error happening, some error is coming. Okay, fine. Let's come to our content view and design the screen accordingly to show the data from the API. So we'll remove this boilerplate code. We will be creating a list, and to show data in the list we have to create a view model from the post VM. So let me mark it as state object private where view model, and the view model will be post VM. Okay, so the value will be view model dot posts, and I'll have to pass a closure posts. So this post will be holding each post. Okay, so let's create a vertical stack. Give it a alignment leading, and okay, so this will hold body and the title. So let me create a text post dot title, and the font will be something like headline. So let's put the font dot headline, and another text will be holding the body. So let's post dot body, and the font will be something like sub headline. So let's create it font dot sub headline. Okay, this is giving us a error. We'll have to create a task, and so this will call our fetch post, and refreshing it, we got our posts. So here what task is doing is that it is calling the API whenever the view shows on the screen, and it gets cancelled when the view disappears or if the value changes, which on appear doesn't do it. So we have used task. So this was the most basic way of calling an API using async await. Next we'll learn some more ways of calling an API. So okay, so name it as maybe like first step. So the first step is using the async await. Okay, next we have completion handlers. So the second will be completion handlers. Okay, fine. So completion handlers is still the most used, and in UI kit it is the, I think 90% of the times completion handlers are being used in storyboards. So let's create a function fetch post and get our URL as usual like we did before. Fine. Okay, so we'll be using URL session. So URL session dot shared dot data task will be from the URL. Okay, fine. So this is asking for closures, so we'll pass data, response and error. So let's come to data, and if error is because the data is coming as nil, so we'll be printing some error like maybe error fetching post or something went wrong. Okay, unknown error, correct. Okay, fine. And if error occurs, we'll return. Okay, so we got the data and we need to update the UI. So for updating the UI, we need to come on the main thread from the background thread. So we'll use dispatch queue dot main dot asynchronous. We don't want the UI to block, so we'll be using asynchronous, and same as before we'll be creating do block, and in this we'll be assigning the decoded data to posts, and so we have to decode using the JSON decoder like we did before, and we'll be using post model again to convert into Swift model. Okay, fine. And this is giving us error because catch block has not been implemented, so let's implement the catch block, and we again, if some error occur, we'll print something. Okay, so let's print something went wrong. Okay, fine. So after updating the UI, we need to resume. Okay, fine. So this is how we use completion handlers to call an API. Okay, so next we will be learning about the combine. So combine is the Swift own framework for the reactive programming. So the third one is combine. So we have to import combine. So import combine. Okay, fine. So let me create a new function, fetch post using combine. Okay, so let's get our URL using guard as usual we were doing before. Fine. So let's work on URL session dot shared dot data task publisher. So in combine we use publishers and subscribers. So publishers is just publish to all its subscribers whenever the data changes, means the posts are getting changed or the posts are getting the value, so all the subscribers will get notified. In our case sync. So let's first filter out the data. We don't want response, so we'll filter out only data. Fine. And decode using the post model as we were doing before. So post model, not post VM, post model. Okay, dot self. Fine. Using the JSON decoder. Fine. So here we'll be using sync. So sync is a subscriber which updates the values accordingly. Okay, so in receive completion we'll getting the success or failure completion. So it's asking for closure, so we'll pass completion. Okay, and if the case is failure, we'll be printing something like something went wrong. Okay, so print something went wrong. Okay, fine. We can also have the success completion here, but currently we are not required it, so we'll not be using it. You can use it if you want. So here it is also asking for closure, so we'll use value as closure posts. So posts in, and we'll assigning it to our local post. So self dot posts is equal to post. So here we assign the values of posts into our stored local variable. So here comes the special part. We need to store the subscribers to a variable, and we'll use cancellables of type any cancelable. It is necessary because here we are using only one API call, but when multiple API calls are happening, this makes easier to track which cancellables are associated with which task, and to only cancel the relevant cancellables when necessary. So we'll use cancellables and store the sync into it, so that there won't be any memory leaks or unnecessary issues occurring. So fine. So this is the API calling using the combine. So the next we have is Alamofire. Alamofire is a third-party library used for API calling. So it makes API calling very much easier. So when you are working on a big scale projects, we can use Alamofire to get ease in API calling. So for that we have to add this package. So we'll use Swift Package Manager for adding it. We'll paste the link and we'll add package. Let it download and install. Okay, so we want only Alamofire, so we'll add target and add package. So the package has been added and now we need to import it. So import Alamofire. Perfect. So again we'll create a function fetch post using Alamofire, and here we don't need to guard URL. We can just directly call af.request and paste the URL inside it. Also we don't need to manually validate the URL. We can just directly use the inbuilt function validate. And the response will get decoded of type model, post model, and we have to pass self Perfect. So it's asking for a closure, so we'll pass response. So the response can have multiple type of completions. So the success completion or the failure completion. So if the success completion happens, we just assign the values into our local container. Post is a decoded value, so we'll assign into a local container, and in case of failure we'll print the print statement, something went wrong. There is occurring an error. I think it's because I didn't use the colon for the response result, I guess. Yeah, perfect. So this is it, guys. We'll cover more things in detail in next upcoming videos.